The mortgage receipt cut into my palm as I clenched it, the paper edge sharp as betrayal. 3 years. 3 years of signing away $1,500 every month to pay for their house. The house my parents lounged in, the house my brother Jake treated like a luxury hotel. And not once had they said thank you. But tonight, my mother stabbed her fork into a salad and said, "Jake just bought a new car. You're still driving that junk heap?" The air in the dining room turned to syrup, thick, suffocating. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. Across the table, Jake smirked, his iPhone 15 Pro, the one I indirectly paid for, gleaming beside his plate. My resume at 23, day job, junior accountant at a firm where my boss called me honey and patted my shoulder like I was a golden retriever. Night job, mixing margaritas for drunk frat boys who snapped their fingers at me and tipped in loose change. Side gig, human ATM for a family that treated me like a backup plan. And Jake? Jake, just focused on his studies. Translation, failed 2 classes, changed majors 3 times, and still got a BMW for his 20th birthday, while I took the bus to community college. The smell of my father's bourbon clung to his study as he waved the mortgage statement at me. "Amanda, sweetheart," he said, voice dripping with fake concern. "The rate's spiking. We'll lose the house." I should have noticed the gleam in his eyes, the one that appeared whenever he manipulated someone into giving him money. But I was too busy feeling like the hero. Finally, they needed me. "I'll cover it," I said, chest swelling with stupid, desperate pride. My mother hugged me. It was stiff, perfunctory, like hugging a coworker at a holiday party. But it was the last time she touched me without asking for something. "We knew we could count on you," Dad said, pouring himself another drink. "You're the responsible one." At the time, I thought it was a compliment. The roast chicken on my plate might as well have been cardboard. I hadn't eaten since breakfast. Too busy rushing from my accounting job to the bank to make their payment. But my appetite had vanished. "Your brother's interning at Goldman Sachs this summer," Mom announced, like Jake hadn't gotten the spot because our uncle worked there. I pushed a carrot across my plate. "Cool. You should network like him," Dad added, sawing into his meat. "Maybe you'd be more than a... What's your title again?" "Accounting associate." "Right." He chuckled. "Glorified calculator." Jake snorted. The sound made my spine lock. Then, the final blow. "Jake's dating a surgeon's daughter." Mom sighed, like it was a Nobel Prize. "When will you bring someone respectable home?" I thought of Mark, my ex from college. The one they'd called aimless because he taught art to kids. The one I'd broken up with because they'd gotten in my head. My fingers curled around the receipt in my pocket. 3 years of payments. 3 years of Jake's so gifted and when are you getting a real job? I looked at them. Really looked. My mother's Botoxed frown. My father's receding hairline slicked back with $50 pomade I'd bought him. Jake's smug, pampered face. Something inside me snapped. My 2009 Corolla, the junk heap, wheezed to life. The engine sputtered, just like it had the day I bought it with my high school waitressing tips. The receipt was still in my hand, now crumpled and damp with sweat. 3 years of skipping lunches to afford their property taxes, lying to my friends about why I couldn't go out, hearing, "Why can't you be more like Jake?" Every damn holiday. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Don't forget, the HOA fee's due Tuesday." "No, please. No, thank you. Just another demand." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. The numbers flashed in my head. 1,500 times 36 months equals 54,000. $54,000 I'd never see again. For what? For snide comments over dried chicken? For being the family afterthought? My thumb hovered over the banking app. 1 tap. That's all it would take. I tapped. Laughter erupted around the dinner table like shattering glass. My father's booming guffaw, the same one he'd used when I told them I wanted to study art history, filled the dining room. My mother's delicate titter followed, sharp enough to cut through the tension. Jake nearly choked on his steak, trying to suppress his snort. "Oh, Amanda," Dad wheezed, wiping tears from his eyes. "You're serious?" The mortgage receipt crumpled in my fist, its edges biting into my palm. $54,000 over 3 years. And this was their response. Amused disbelief. "Dead serious," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. The laughter died abruptly. I watched the realization dawn on my mother's face in slow motion. First, her perfectly plucked eyebrows arched in amusement. Then, confusion flickered across her Botox-smoothed forehead. Finally, click. Understanding. Her precious safety net had just been yanked away. "You can't be serious," she breathed, her manicured nails digging into the tablecloth. Across from me, my father's chair screeched violently against the hardwood as he shot to his feet. "After everything we've done for you?" Spittle flew from his lips as his face turned an alarming shade of red. I counted the veins bulging in his neck. 3 distinct cords. 1 for each year I'd been their financial lifeline. Jake chose that moment to flip his ridiculous floppy hair. The $200 haircut Mom insisted made him look professional. "Bro," he said around a mouthful of food, "you're like literally their retirement plan." The words hung between us, greasy and raw. I stood slowly, testing my weight. My knees didn't buckle. Progress. "Funny," I said, smoothing my skirt. "Because last I checked, retirement plans earn interest." Rain streaked across my windshield as I peeled out of their driveway, my Corolla's engine roaring in protest. The familiar scent of old coffee and cheap air freshener filled the car. My car, bought with my high school waitressing tips while Jake got a BMW for his 16th birthday. My phone lit up like a fireworks display. At 8:07 p.m., Mom's message arrived first. "Come back and act like an adult." 2 minutes later, Dad chimed in. "We'll talk when you calm down." By 8:11 p.m., Jake's all-caps panic arrived. WTFAMANDAIHAVETIONDUEFRIDAY. I pulled over beneath a flickering streetlight, the rain drumming a frantic rhythm on the roof. My fingers trembled only slightly as I opened the banking app. The screen's blue glow illuminated my face in the dark car as I navigated to cancel autopay. Mortgage, 742 Oak Lane. The confirmation notification flashed green. I waited for the guilt, the fear, the doubt to crash over me. Instead, I felt light, like I'd been carrying their house on my back for years and had finally set it down. The fallout came in waves. On day 1, my phone buzzed incessantly. A missed call from home at 9 a.m. By 11:30 a.m., Dad's voicemail growled, "This isn't funny." At 3:17 p.m., Jake's Instagram story featured a tearful selfie captioned $, stressed $, family drama. The same boy who'd mocked me for overreacting when Grandma died. Day 2 began with a 7:02 a.m. text from Mom. "We're coming over." I bolted my apartment door at 7:03 a.m. Their BMW idled outside my building for 3 hours while I watched from behind my curtains, sipping coffee that actually tasted good for once. Then came Day 3's masterpiece. An email with the subject line, URGENT, Mortgage Default Notice. I printed it and stuck it to my fridge. They ambushed me at work. Mom's Chanel No. 5 announced her presence before she did, that cloying scent dragging up memories of every guilt trip I'd ever endured. Dad loomed behind her in the golf polo I'd foolishly bought him last Father's Day. "We need to talk," Mom hissed, oblivious to my gaping coworkers. I smiled my best customer service smile. "Conference room B has 30 minutes free." Mom led with her classic tears. "After I carried you for 9 months?" Dad went for threats. "We'll cut you out of the will." I shrugged. "Jake's the heir anyway. Can I get back to work now?" Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Dad's voice cracked like a teenager's as he asked, "How could you do this to us?" I leaned across the conference table, smelling the bourbon on his breath. Funny, I ask myself that every time I look at my bank statements. Within a week, Jake dropped out of college. Turns out Goldman Sachs doesn't hire students with a 1.8 GPA. Mom voluntarily sold her diamond necklace at a pawn shop. Dad sent a 2 a.m. drunk text that might have contained an apology before claiming it was a pocket dial. I deleted it without responding. Now, as I sit in my tiny studio, with its thrift store couch and perpetually dripping faucet, I stare at my laptop screen. Bank balance: $3,212.87 auto transfers, none weight lifted, priceless. My phone vibrates with a call from an unknown number. Amanda, it's Mom. I block the number without listening to the rest. Outside, the rain falls steadily, sounding for all the world like a standing ovation. The morning light filtered through my thin curtains, painting my studio apartment in pale gold. My phone screen illuminated with 5 consecutive missed calls from Mom. Not a single voicemail left, just the digital equivalent of impatient foot tapping. Text notifications followed in rapid succession. Dad's message arrived first, the all caps glaring at me. You're tearing this family apart. 3 minutes later, Jake's predictable panic. My tuition was due yesterday, you selfish bitch. I set the phone face down on my chipped IKEA nightstand and inhaled the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The good kind. The $12 per bag kind I'd never allowed myself before. My hands remained steady as I lifted the mug. No shaking, no second guessing. Just quiet, simmering resolve. The banking app loaded with satisfying swiftness. Cancel recurring payment? The prompt asked. I imagined my mother's face when her weekly spa appointments would start getting declined. My thumb hovered for just a moment before pressing confirm. Next came the contacts list. One by one, I erased every connection. Home, that cruel misnomer for my parents' number. Dad's emergency burner phone, used primarily for golf bets. All 3 of Jake's social media accounts. The joint bank account, opened with such naive optimism at 18, still held $3,421.17 of my hard-earned money. The bank teller raised an eyebrow as I slid the withdrawal slip across the counter. Treating yourself? She asked pleasantly. Something like that, I replied, thinking of the therapist's office I'd booked for tomorrow morning. By midday, the barrage began in earnest. My mother's voicemail screeched through my phone speaker. Amanda Marie Carter, if you don't call me back this instant. I deleted it before the threat could fully form. Dad's email arrived marked urgent, the subject line screaming, family intervention required. I forwarded it to HR with a brief explanation. Harassment concern. Please deny entry if these individuals appear. Then came Jake's Venmo request, $2,500 with the memo tuition emergency. I sent back a single penny with the note, welcome to adulthood. That evening, I stood in my tiny kitchen preparing real salmon, the wild-caught kind I'd always walked past at the grocery store. The asparagus sizzled in garlic butter as the rich, savory scent filled my apartment. It hit me then. This was the first meal I'd ever cooked solely for my own pleasure. No complaints about the cost. No snide remarks about putting on airs. Just me, my food, and the beautiful silence of my own company. When my phone vibrated with yet another unknown number, I didn't hesitate before turning up the burner. The frantic voice on the other end, Amanda, it's Mom. We need to, was drowned out by the triumphant sizzle of my freedom. The fallout came swiftly. On day 4, my mother took to Facebook with vague booking worthy of a teenage drama queen. When the children you sacrificed for turned their backs. Aunt Karen's heart emoji reaction made me snort my coffee. By week's end, a certified letter arrived. The official mortgage delinquency notice for 742 Oak Lane. I admired the crisp legal document before magnetizing it to my fridge, right beside my favorite Thai takeout menu. The juxtaposition felt poetic. The promotion announcement came unexpectedly. My boss leaned back in her chair, a knowing smirk playing on her lips. Turns out nepotism has its limits. she said, sliding the offer letter across her desk. Your brother lasted 8 days at his internship before they mutually agreed to part ways. The $15,000 raise, almost exactly what I'd been hemorrhaging to my family annually, felt like the universe balancing its scales. 1 month to the day after my Declaration of Independence, the final piece arrived. Subject: Notice of foreclosure proceedings. As I clicked purchase on my Italy plane tickets, my phone lit up with one last plea. We're blood. That means something. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Funny, my blood stopped funding your lives 30 days ago. The block button had never looked so beautiful. The foreclosure notice arrived on a Tuesday. I know because my former neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, texted me a photo of the certified mail envelope sticking out of my parents' mailbox. Thought you'd want to know. Her message read, followed by a winking emoji. The woman had always hated my mother's rose bushes that crept onto her property. I was elbow deep in spreadsheet formulas at work when my phone buzzed again, this time with a panicked voicemail from Dad. Amanda, there's been some mistake with the mortgage company. His voice cracked on the word mistake, the same way it had when I was 12 and he'd accidentally given my college fund to Jake for his private baseball camp. I deleted it before the message finished. The email from NYU came as a forward from my cousin Rachel, who worked in their bursar's office. The subject line alone made me spit out my coffee. Termination of enrollment, Jacob Carter. Thought you'd appreciate this, Rachel had written. They gave him 3 warnings about unpaid tuition. Guess Daddy couldn't bail him out this time. Attached was a scan of Jake's academic record, a beautiful tapestry of C-minuses and incomplete notations. The cherry on top? His Goldman Sachs internship had been rescinded after he'd shown up hungover 3 days in a row. I printed the email and added it to my growing karma collection on the fridge. Aunt Linda's call came unexpectedly. We'd never been close. She was my father's sister, the one who'd always whispered, "You're the smart one," at family gatherings while patting my hand. Your mother is telling everyone you had a nervous breakdown, she said without preamble. But Helen from book club says she saw you at Whole Foods buying lobster tails last week. I twirled the phone cord around my finger. Yes, I kept a landline just for moments like this. Did she mention I was wearing the cashmere sweater she always said I couldn't afford? Aunt Linda's cackle was downright musical. Oh, honey, the bridge club is eating this up. By the way, did you know your parents took out a second mortgage in 2019? For Jake's modeling portfolio? I didn't, but I did know exactly which private investigator I'd be hiring with my next paycheck. Mom's letter arrived on heavy cream stationery, the kind she used to write thank you notes for gifts she'd later return. The scent of her Chanel No. 5 wafted from the envelope, a psychological warfare tactic I recognized from childhood. Amanda, it began, we've had time to reflect. I read it standing over my kitchen trash can, letting each hollow phrase sink in before tearing the paper in half. We may have been harsh. Rip. You've always been so sensitive. Rip. Family is everything. Rip. The final scrap fluttered into the bin just as my doorbell rang. A delivery man held a bouquet of white lilies, Mom's classic guilt offering. I handed them right back. Give these to the next person who thinks love should come with a price tag. 3 months to the day after I'd canceled that first auto payment, the universe delivered its masterpiece. My new therapist's office was blissfully quiet when my phone buzzed with a Zillow alert. Price reduced. 742 Oak Lane. Foreclosure auction pending. The listing photo showed our old dining room, now empty save for the chandelier I'd paid to install. That evening, as I unpacked groceries in my apartment, organic strawberries, real brie, all the things they'd called wasteful, my laptop pinged with a notification. Dad had finally accepted my LinkedIn connection request. His profile showed a new position, freelance financial consultant at a company that didn't exist. I toasted the screen with my $40 bottle of wine. Welcome to the real world, Daddy. The foreclosure auction notice came with an unexpected bonus, a handwritten note from the bank officer. We attempted to contact your parents regarding the deficiency balance. They claimed you were responsible. I framed it next to my Italy plane tickets. When the moving trucks finally came for their belongings, I didn't drive by to watch. Instead, I sat on my balcony overlooking the ocean, scrolling through Jake's latest Instagram post, a grainy photo of him behind the counter of a 24-hour diner. The caption read, "New beginnings, number hustle." I clicked like, then block. The sunset that night was particularly beautiful. Or maybe I was just finally present enough to notice. The ocean breeze carries the scent of kelp and possibility through my open balcony doors. My apartment, mine, with its sun-bleached floors and thrift store furniture that I chose, sits perched above the Pacific, a far cry from the stuffy McMansion I funded for years. This morning, I drank my coffee watching pelicans dive for fish, the steam curling around the embossed letterhead of my promotion notice. Senior Financial Analyst. The irony isn't lost on me. The glorified calculator now earns more than her father ever did. My therapist's words from yesterday still echo. You're not responsible for their choices. For the first time, I believe her. The foreclosure finalized 6 months ago. I know because Aunt Linda sent me the Zillow listing. Sold for $200,000 under market value to a young couple with a baby. The photo showed them painting the nursery my money built. I felt nothing. Jake resurfaced last month. Not to me, of course, but on a local news segment about entrepreneurial youth. There he was, my golden child brother, hawking energy drinks from a folding table outside a gym. The caption read, "Former finance student pursues passion." I screenshot it for my growth album. Mom tried one last Hail Mary. A handwritten letter slipped under my office door. She'd gotten the address from my LinkedIn, which I'd forgotten to lock. "We're selling the lake house to cover debts," she'd written, as if I'd care. "Your father's blood pressure." I used it to light my new citrus-scented candle. Italy wasn't what I expected. Not the gondolas or the pasta, though God, the pasta, but the realization that hit me halfway through a wine tour in Tuscany. As the guide explained how vines grow stronger when stressed, I burst out laughing. The other tourists stared. I didn't care. Somewhere between the second and third glass of Brunello, I finally understood. They did me a favor. Every snide comment, every withheld approval, every dollar taken, it all forced me to grow roots where they couldn't reach. I toasted the sunset with a glass I'd chosen myself. The call came 3 days after I returned. An unknown number. I answered out of habit. "Amanda?" Dad's voice, thinner now. "We're downsizing." A pause. I let it stretch. "The new place doesn't have a guest room, but..." "Good," I interrupted. "Then we won't have to pretend I'd visit." The silence on the line tasted sweeter than any revenge I could have planned. Today, I walk barefoot on warm sand, my toes digging into the grit as the waves lick at my ankles. My phone buzzes in my back pocket. A calendar alert for my 3 p.m. therapy session. I ignore it for now, choosing instead to watch a toddler chase seagulls, his shrieks of joy carried by the wind. There's a text from Rachel. "Mom says you've lost your way." I say you've found it. "Drinks Friday?" I smile and type back. "Only if we toast to expensive wine and cheap relatives." The sun dips lower, painting the sky in hues I used to think only existed in postcards. Somewhere in a cramped condo they can barely afford, my parents are probably arguing about money. Jake's likely complaining about his shift manager. And me, I'm untouchable. Not because I'm rich, though my 401k is looking very healthy. Not because I'm successful, though my boss keeps hinting at a London transfer. But because I finally understand the secret they never wanted me to learn. The best revenge isn't making them suffer. It's being free. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more unbelievable real-life stories.